and 29. Jones steps up, tries to avoid it, buys some time. Jones uncorks, deep ball, touchdown on the ricochet. Purdy back to throw, pressure coming, steps away, looking to run, and he walks it in for the touchdown. Throw on 4th and 18, he's given time, he wants Jefferson, plays on, oh my goodness, Justin Jefferson. Jacobs with running room right up the middle, Jacobs is on his way, the Raiders are going to win this game. Lays it up, it is intercepted. Trayvon Diggs. Guess who? On it to McCaffrey right up the middle. And a stiff arm. McCaffrey for 6.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome into a very special edition of The Extra Point here on the IM6 Network. My name is Isaiah Leong, and I'm joined by my guy, Ben Cruz, here tonight. NFL free agency is just a couple of days away. The madness of NFL free agency begins in about 72 hours. Man, it's going to be so much fun. Can't wait for it. But Ben, thanks so much for joining me here tonight on our IM6 free agency preview special. How are you doing tonight?
Doing good, Isaiah. Glad to be on and talk a lot of some guys in the offseason that are free agents. Of course, this is one of my favorite times of the year. Just not on just football, but just we have March Madness coming up. Of course, my birthday passed, which I had obviously a really fun birthday, and so it's just a great month. And the weather around me is starting to get a little bit warmer, which is nice. It's beautiful out today. So yeah, I mean, I can't really complain. And Monday it should be really exciting. And the salary cap obviously went up a little bit. They announced that like a week or two ago, so we might be getting more action than we might have been in the past, which is really exciting stuff.
Yeah, definitely. It should be very exciting for sure. And Ben, I don't know if I wished you happy birthday or not, but happy belated birthday to you. Hope
thank you.
Yeah, no worries. Hope you enjoyed your birthday. We have James, our resident Raider fan, joining us on the program tonight. The Raiders definitely have a lot of salary cap space, so maybe it'll be some good shopping for him. But James, how are you doing tonight?
Been busy, so it's good to be here to end the night.
Definitely. But before we get into our free agency preview show and preview where we think all these top free agents will land and where all these trade candidates will go, if you guys do us a favor, please like and subscribe to our channel on YouTube as well as our channel on Facebook and Instagram as well. We'll really, really appreciate it. But let's get into it, fellas. So free agency begins on Monday, like you mentioned, Ben. It starts at 9 a.m. Pacific time, 12 p.m. Noon Eastern time. There's a lot of great free agents to get into. So let's start with our free agency prediction segment. We'll predict for the top 26 free agents that are listed on this list. We'll be predicting where they will land. And feel free to give us your predictions in the comment section about where you guys think that these free agents will land as well. And let's start with number one. I think he's the top free agent quarterback-wise on the market, and that is Kirk Cousins, quarterback of the Minnesota Vikings. He tore his Achilles this past season, but he looks to be making a full recovery. There was a video, I think, a couple of weeks ago that showed him working out, and he was moving very spryly out there in his rehab. So he looks like he's going to be good to go. There's been a lot of rumors surrounding Atlanta and, potentially going back to Minnesota. And also there's been rumors that Kirk Cousins reportedly wants another fully guaranteed contract, but I don't think he's going to get it. So for me, and I think, we're going to start off with the first prediction, the first player, first prediction of the night, and we might have our first boom of the night. And that is, guys, I got Kirk Cousins going to a surprise destination, and that is the Denver Broncos. I think the Denver Broncos, a couple days after cutting Russell Wilson, will go get Kirk Cousins. And you guys probably think I'm super crazy, but here's why.
I mean, it could be worse. I've heard worse.
Because the reason why I'm saying Denver is because I look at Denver, right? Sean Payton, in his entire coaching career, he has never coached a rookie quarterback. He's never developed a quarterback. So I can't see that in this job, with him having basically the entire say of football operations, that he's going to try to win with the rookie quarterback. Like, Sean Payton knows this is his last head coaching job, so he has to win with the Denver Broncos. So I think that Sean Payton, I just can't see him going with a rookie. I think he's going to go with a veteran quarterback, a guy with all the traits that he trusts, and that is Kirk Cousins. Like, Kirk Cousins is a pocket passer. Sean Payton, if you look at all of his quarterbacks that he's coached, they've all been pocket passers. And him and Russell Wilson, they didn't mesh philosophy-wise, because Russ was the guy that was more of a, improvise, run around, try to find people on the run. But Sean Payton loves his quarterbacks just staying in the pocket, a la Drew Brees, and just throwing from the pocket. And I just think it makes a lot of sense for Kirk Cousins to go there, specifically because Denver, they have a lot of weapons too. Like, people don't remember, they've got Cortland Sutton, they've got Jerry Jeudy, they've got a good running back in Javonte Williams. Like, they've got a good offense, they've got some good offensive weapons, and the defense is actually pretty good as well, even though they cut Justin Simmons. So for me, I'm gonna go Kirk Cousins to the Denver Broncos. He'll go to Denver on a short 2 to 3 year deal. I think Denver makes some more moves between now and Monday to create the cap space necessary for Kirk Cousins, and signs him to, I think he gets like a $35 to $40 million per year deal, not a fully guaranteed deal, but somewhere along that range. But Ben, for Kirk Cousins, where do you see the Vikings passer going this offseason?
Well, first of all, would it be a free agency special show without Isaiah Baum to start the night? So for me, I have him going back to Minnesota. I just think at the parties, it makes all the sense in the world. Really, the only team for me specifically, if not going back to Minnesota, would be Atlanta. There's been a lot of kind of smoke and chatter here and there, but I just don't see him kind of being an overall person where he's going to move his family to another spot. I think he's valued really a lot in Minnesota. And Justin Jefferson, of course, will probably get an extension regardless over Minnesota, no matter who's going to be the quarterback. But Kirk Cousins, I think, guys, and I've had his critiques about him in the past, but for the most part, specifically, if he's not playing on primetime, he's a very serviceable, pretty decent quarterback. So he's going to get obviously paid because he can be obviously one of the top quarterbacks in the market. And it's, when you look at the overall market, there's not like that big standout type of guy, but Kirk Cousins is a good enough quarterback where, for a team like Minnesota, you could put you in contention year by year. And I don't see it, unless it's Atlanta, which of course I can really see it happening. But I think he's going to go back to Minnesota by probably like the next couple of days. There was that cryptic tweet I was reading a couple of days ago from Louis Riddick, who of course works for the NFL. There's obviously that chains thing, that the GIF from Kirk Cousins, so there might be some smoke there about something, but I think he's going back to Minnesota.
All right, so Ben's got him going back to Minnesota. I got him going to Denver. James, where do you think Kirk Cousins will end up?
As many have pointed out, his wife Julie grew up in the Atlanta suburbs, and her parents still live there, so there's a family presence already there. I feel like Kirk Cousins, I think, will move the family in a sense back home for the wife and play with the Falcons, at least for one season. I always look at that whenever, when LeBron moved a couple of times, destinations, there were some signs before it happened. And then it finally got leaked out where he was going. So I feel like it's gonna be the Falcons for him. and I just think they have an array of talent there. And again, you're not leaving a dome. You're playing 9 games at least inside. So for Cousins, I think that's perfect. You have a better running game with the Falcons than you do the Vikings. I think you could lean on that. So I'm gonna say the Vikings.
We're all different spots to start. Love it.
Wait, James, you got him going to the Falcons or the Vikings?
Falcons.
Falcons. Okay, perfect. So Ben's got him staying in Minnesota. I got him going to Denver, and James has them going to the Falcons. Definitely going to be interesting to see where he ends up. But let's move to our next free agent, guys. And this guy was probably, as much as it pains me to say it, the defensive player of the game in the Super Bowl that single-handedly wrecked my Niners' chances of winning the Super Bowl couple of weeks ago, and that is Chris Jones, defensive end of the Chiefs. He's had a very productive career in Kansas City. He, is definitely the Chiefs' best player on defense, and he's the guy that keeps their defense afloat. He's a free agent. He's reportedly seeking $30+ million on his next contract, and I think there's a team out there that will be desperate enough to get him to help bring him in and fortify their defense while weakening an AFC foe. And Ben, I think you will like where I'm heading with this. For me, Chris Jones will be a New England Patriot on Monday afternoon.
I would love that.
Yes, you will. The Patriots have a lot of cap space. Elliott Wolf, the new GM, and Gerard Mayo have already signaled that we are going to do things differently than the Bill Belichick era, where Bill Belichick never really handed out big deals unless he had to. Elliott Wolf and Gerard Mayo, I feel like, are going to just, with that cap space, they know that their team doesn't have a lot of weapons. They know that team defensively, offensively, doesn't have a lot of weapons. And also, Gerard Mayo's a defensive head coach. So I think they're going to try to prioritize the defense to want to win with the defense and have the offense kind of complement the defense. So for me, I'm going to say Chris Jones. I think Chris Jones goes to the Patriots with that massive cap space. They're one of the teams that can afford giving him a $30+ million deal, and I think it'll be worth it, because if you have him and Matthew Judon in the middle of that defensive line with Christian Gonzalez at the secondary, I mean, who's going to stop that D line, Ben and James, with Chris Jones?
We're getting Christian Barmore too. He's an
Christian Barmore, exactly. Christian Barmore, Chris Jones, Matthew Judon. I mean, you're not going to be able to run on that defense. You're not even going to be able to have a lot of time to throw on that defense. It will definitely be a great start to the Gerard Mayo for the Patriots if they landed Chris Jones. So I got Chris Jones leaving Kansas City because I don't think they can afford to give him that massive deal. And I think he goes to the Patriots, gets a massive $30 million plus per year deal. So I got him going to the Patriots. James, I'll kick it over to you. Where do you see Chris Jones going? Is he going to stay in Kansas City, or do you think he's going to go somewhere else?
Man, I don't think the Chiefs can function without him. And eventually he'll have to take less if he wants to win. So I think he's going to stay with the Chiefs and sign a 2 to 3 year deal. It might be backloaded in a way, but I just don't believe he's gonna go. He's not like Tyreek, where you can kind of feel okay with having Pat Mahomes and Kelsey there. It's different with the defense. They don't have an anchor like that, like Jones on the defensive side, that you would be okay parting ways with. So I just feel like he's gonna stay with the Chiefs. I really do.
All right, so James has him on the staying with Kansas City, getting a big fat deal there. Ben, where do you have Chris Jones going? I know your Patriots are one of the teams that has come up in the Chris Jones suitors. Where do you think Chris Jones ends up?
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to go with James. I think he resigns with Kansas City. It just makes too much sense in the world. I mean, obviously, a team that just won back-to-back Super Bowls, you're essentially the best player on defense. I think he's going to get a pretty good payday with him. get an extension. The only two teams that I would see specifically, like you obviously mentioned my pass, and as much as we'll love him specifically, I don't think we're gonna go specifically pay for a defensive lineman that specifically that much money for that. But two other teams that I'd be watching, if not Kansas City, the Bears and the Bengals. I think that the Bengals were a team last year that had some interest with him. And the Bears, obviously, they've been needing some defensive line help for a while. So obviously, Isaiah, of course, I understand like your point specific in terms of if he doesn't want to go specifically where, familiarity is and go for the money, of course, a team with a lot of cash flow like us and stuff like that. But I think he's going to go familiarity. Of course, they just won the Super Bowl last couple of years. I think your sons.
All right. And the Bengals, don't rule out the Bengals because the Bengals might view this like an Orlando Brown Jr. situation from last year where you're not only are you getting better, but you're significantly weakening your rival. So that could definitely propel the Bengals to try to get Chris Jones as well. The next free agent on our list, we're going to go to Christian Wilkins of the Miami Dolphins. He was surprisingly not given a franchise tag this past Tuesday. James, I'll kick it over to you first. Where do you think Christian Wilkins ends up?
You ready, Ben? I think he's going to be a Patriot. I think they're going to throw money at him. He's a force as a defensive tackle inside. Under the Dolphins defensive coordinator back then with Wilkins, Josh Boyer, he's now with the Patriots with Gerard Mayo. So I just see that as a connection there. So I'm gonna say he goes with the Patriots, and then I think that's gonna work out. What do you think, Ben?
Yeah, I'm actually going with the Patriots too. I think that this pretty much is a player when you look at specifically a prototype Patriot, specifically defensively, I've liked this guy from afar, and it sucks that he's been in my division for the last couple years in Miami. But another thing too to note, James, is he's from Massachusetts. So, of course, they kind of take a look at some guys with some type of hometown familiarity, defensive line specifically. You pair Wilkins with a guy like Christian Barmore, and he can, if not, I wouldn't say have the same type of impact of a guy like a Chris Jones, but he can definitely, pay massive dividends for the Patriots. You probably wouldn't have to overpay for him, like a guy like a Chris Jones, maybe give him like a 4 or 5 year type deal, 50, 60 million, call it a day. And I would love it. And I have him going to the Patriots. I think they're going to figure something out there and address one of their needs to get even stronger for next season.
Yeah, that's a really, really interesting note. I never knew he's from the New England area, Massachusetts.
Springfield.
But he's a threat, up front. I guess I'll take over for Isaiah since he's dealing with some technical issues. But next one on here, I think, is what everybody's wondering. It's another quarterback, and it's Russell Wilson. I'll go first because I'm intrigued the hell by this because I don't know if they'll wait till the draft, after the draft, or they'll do it right before a deal. But for me, Russell Wilson, see, I've been struggling with this, Ben, where either he's going to be a Viking or a Falcon. And then a third team came up recently in my head this morning where I said the New York Giants, if they move on from Jones or don't want to start him. Well, guess what? Wilson isn't really making much. It's all on the Broncos. It's all on the Broncos tab. So I could see either of those three teams. I don't think there's a reunion in Seattle. That would be awkward as hell.
Nope.
So I'm gonna maybe shock everyone and say the New York Giants. I think
I like it.
He competes in camp with Jones. And they'll probably go back and forth on the season. It won't be a good season. I think they'll be without Saquon Barkley as well. So I'm going to say Giants. What do you think about Russell Wilson?
Yeah, I mean, if you told me, right, this guy won a Super Bowl like 5-6 years ago, and, he was if not one of the top quarterbacks in the league, and now obviously, He obviously moved on from Seattle. He went to Denver, and his whole career just kind of diminished. There just has not been a lot of progression with him. Now, he did have a pretty solid year last year, I think, on his standards. I thought that his first year in Denver was not great, but his second year, I thought, with Sean Payton was a little bit better. I just think there was the overall scheme specifically. There was just a lot of in and out. Their defense, remember last year, the first half was awful. So I mean, he was playing turnover-free football for most of the season, but a lot of it was just their whole team essentially was just not working together. For me, James, I have him going to Pittsburgh. I think they had a meeting this today. It sounded like it was pretty good according to Josina Anderson, and I'm not really keyed in on that quarterback situation with Pittsburgh right now. Kenny Pickett, I think specifically, has been benched a couple times. Mason Rudolph obviously has had his win-standing moments here and there. But the Pittsburgh Steelers, right, their defense typically for the most part year by year with Mike Tomlin, who's kind of getting up there really as a coach specifically, he's found a way year by year to get to 500 football. And, if Pittsburgh's a good defense, right, you bring a guy like Russell Wilson in, maybe getting some talent via the draft, and you got Freiermuth there, I think it would be a decent fit. You get him on a vet min, so obviously if it doesn't work out for a year, you could obviously go back to a guy like Kenny Pickett or Rudolph and kind of maybe learn from a guy like Russell Wilson. So I just think, a team like the Vikings, I can maybe possibly see a team like the Giants. I just think that the Giants are pretty much keyed in with that option. I don't think that there's really nothing they can really do there. So I think that the Giants could be potential, but I think it's very unlikely. But yeah, I think Pittsburgh. I really watch out for that, and I would not be surprised, James, if Russell Wilson is going to be a Pittsburgh Steeler potentially by the end of this weekend. There's no inside info about that, but I do think that there's something there.
I'm still thinking to myself, it wouldn't hurt having Russell there in Pittsburgh, but maybe it would make Pickett play better. Mm-hmm. But I think they're still keen on, starting him and running with him for the future. But this might be like the last year where they have that leash on him and they let him go out there, but eventually I don't know how well they'll do. I think it depends on what they get receiving-wise. The next one is quarterback Baker Mayfield. Now, this one's pretty tough. We know that Mike Evans signed for a 3-year deal with the Bucs. I thought he was gone. I didn't think he would stay around. They got rid of the defensive players. I know Antoine Winfield Jr. I can't remember if he was tagged or not. I don't think he was. Oh, he was. Okay.
Yeah.
So they took care of the main priorities, but to me, I feel like, again, they draft pretty, late, in the first round there. So I don't think they're keen on keeping Kyle Trask and starting him. I think you would already saw him have a bigger impact, at least in the preseason of last year. All I just remember is Baker Mayfield. So I think the Bucs actually re-sign him and give him basically what he wants. But it'd only be a 2-year deal. They would just have to work with that. Ben, I'll go with you. Where do you think Baker Mayfield goes?
Yeah, I think he's going back to Tampa. I think it works. It makes perfect sense for all parties. He kind of resurrected I wouldn't say his career, but he kind of got himself back to winning football over there in Tampa. Kind of the way that Baker played kind of in his early Cleveland days. Obviously, Mike Evans is a massive draw there. Of course, if he moved on from them, maybe things would have been different. But I think that just him down south, warm weather, very winnable division. It just makes a lot of sense for him to kind of go back there and keep on balling out. And I agree with you, James, too, in the contract. 2-3-year deal, maybe like an option there, and that maybe kind of work it out and stuff like that. I think most people around the league pretty much think that he's going back there. So I'm going to go with Tampa.
All right, Isaiah, where do you think Baker Mayfield ends up?
Yeah, guys, sorry about, cutting off earlier. Glad to be back on the show. I was having some bad audio issues. For some reason, a Barney video was playing on my phone while I was on the show. I hope you guys didn't hear that. But for Baker Mayfield, yeah, I don't know what's going on with myself, but I probably got to get a new one. But
It's Freaky Friday here in the shower.
Yeah, maybe it is. I don't know.
Maybe it is.
So Baker Mayfield, I agree. I think he goes back to Tampa. He found a long-term home there with Todd Bowles and the Buccaneers. They hired Liam Cohen from Kentucky to be their new offensive coordinator, replacing Dave Canales. He's running the same system that Dave Canales ran that made Baker Mayfield so successful. And with Mike Evans there, Chris Godwin, another year, I think they're going to just get even better with Baker Mayfield and the Buccaneers. And let's face it, Baker, I don't feel like is the future in Tampa. He's just the bridge quarterback like Jared Goff is with the Lions until they find someone that is suitable to make them go from a good team to a great team. So I got Baker going back to the Bucks. I think he's going to go back probably on a team friendly. I think he'll get paid a little bit more, but he'll probably get like a 2-year deal. It just makes sense for both parties to continue this marriage. James, you're muted.
There we go. All right. So Saquon Barkley is an interesting item because the Giants did not tag him. He's unrestricted now. For me, I'm thinking he goes in division and he can go to the other three. There's no doubt. But I think he wants to win mostly. Something tells me he ends up oh boy. No. You know what? I'm going to hear from you guys first. Ben, I'll start with you. Where do you think Saquon Barkley goes?
Yeah, I think I might have spilled it over to you, James, last week. I don't think you knew it, but for me, I got Saquon going to Houston Texans. I think that this is kind of a fit there. Him with CJ, they need some running game because I know for a fact that passing attack last year looked really solid with Tank Dell, Nico Collins. You bring in Saquon in there. He's already expressed some interest to play with CJ Stroud. You put him in that offense, kind of build off what you had. If Saquon could stay healthy, that would be such a fun offense to watch next year. So I think he's going to go to Houston.
All right, what about you, Isaiah?
Ooh, Giant fans are going to probably kill me for this. And I've already made a lot of explosive takes, but this might be the cream of the crop in terms of the explosive takes. Guys, I got Saquon Barkley going to the Dallas Cowboys. I got him switching from one rival to another rival and going to the Giants' main rival. I think it makes sense because, the Cowboys, they have Tony Pollard. But let's face it, Tony Pollard has not been the same ever since that horrific injury that he suffered against the Niners in the playoffs. And I think if you move off of Pollard, get Saquon, you get a little bit younger. And plus, Saquon is better and he's more faster and he's more athletic. And also, I feel like Saquon right now at this stage of his career against Pollard, I think he's a better running back. So I think for Dallas, it makes a lot of sense. For Saquon, it makes sense too because you go to a contending team, you go to the Cowboys. They have an excellent offensive line. Dak Prescott's there. You don't have to, be the guy like you were in New York that runs the football like 40 plus times. You can be like kind of like Christian McCaffrey in San Francisco, where you be the complement piece. You have a great passing attack with Dak Prescott. You can catch passes out of the backfield. You can run the ball when needed. Like it just makes a lot of sense for both sides. So I got Saquon going to Dallas and pissing a lot of Giant fans off.
It's funny because I was listening to New York Sports Radio this week, and a lot of their talk this week was Saquon Barkley. And a lot of the talk right now is about, if he moves on from the Giants, and obviously talking about the teams like the Eagles and the Cowboys, like just the reaction of how crazy it would be, like you're mentioning there. So it'd be crazy to think in terms of what things go there with Saquon.
Okay, for me, and this team just got rid of some of their running backs, I believe, yesterday. The Philadelphia Eagles. That intrigues the hell out of me because I think they want to take some pressure off Jalen Hurts to run. I think they want him to be more of a pocket passer. So I'm going to say Philadelphia. I totally feel that way. I think that he wants to go to a winner, a better offensive line, and something where, hey, if he needs to, he can pass, maybe on some gadget plays, trick plays. I think that'd be a cool fit there. And it would get back at the Giants. I think that would be a great thing.
Yeah.
But I can also see that Houston. I think that'd be a great fit only because hey, he can help the young players out. So I really would enjoy that. Okay, another running back, Josh Jacobs. Now this hits home for me. I don't think he's going to return to the Raiders. They already didn't tag him. There's been a couple of years of this now. Do you tag him or not? Do you pay him long term? And they kept leaving him at the stake. For me, I think he's going to chase the money. And something tells me he will be, man, a Washington Commander. I just feel like they're going to take the money and run. And they're willing to throw, I think, any money at anyone who wants to come there. This is the first off season for this new ownership and management, so I know they're going to go after someone, who's ever left. And I think Josh Jacobs will be their man. Isaiah, I'll start off with you this time. Where do you think running back Josh Jacobs goes?
Ooh, this is a tough one as well. A lot of these running backs are very tough. I think because he's a young back, I think he goes for the money as well. This is going to be his first payday that he'll be getting, and I think that I got him going to New England. New England wants to run the football. I know they have Ramondre Stevenson there, but if you have a chance to go get Josh Jacobs, who I think is better than both Ramondre Stevenson and Ezekiel Elliott, you do it, and you do it in a heartbeat. And Elliott Wolf has said, we're gonna spend. Our offense doesn't have any weapons. We're gonna try to weaponize both the offense and the defense, and this is one big step in doing so because you have a great running game. It puts less pressure on your young quarterback to have to, throw the football like 35 to 40 times. So I think Jacobs, for me, I got him going to the Patriots on a short term, maybe a 3-year deal to be a Pat.
All right, Ben, how about you?
Well, I'm going to go against with you guys. I think he resigns. I think he goes back to Vegas. I just, for me specifically, I just don't see him leaving for another team specifically. I know obviously Vegas is kind of in and out type of phase with him. There's obviously been some stuff off the field here and there with him, but I think that they're going to find a way to get things done. I think he also really likes Antonio Pierce, the new coach, as well too. I think a lot of the guys specifically kind of bought into that coach over there. I think if he was built with Josh McDaniels, I would have said, yeah, I think he's out. But I think that new coach, guys like Davante Adams, guys like Josh Jacobs, I think he'll find a way to keep him around. And James, he'll make you happy at least for another couple of years.
Yeah, we'll see about that. All right, safety, Justin Simmons. For me, guys, it might sound redundant or whatever, repetitive, but I think he goes to the highest bidder, the one who will offer the most. For me, I just see him. Oh man, I just see him wasting away in Tennessee. They need some help defensively. They do.
Okay.
But I think in the draft they probably go offensive. So at least in the defensive way, they're going to go free agency. They're going to go defensive. Ben, where do you see safety Justin Simmons going?
To me, he just sounds perfectly like a Philadelphia Eagle. That secondary really was getting torched last year. They brought in Kevin Byard. And I thought last year he was okay with them, but Justin Simmons, guys, in Denver was a force of tackling. And the Philadelphia Eagles back end, you saw last year, they couldn't tackle in the second gear to save their lives last year. So they need a guy like Justin Simmons in that back end of what you kind of already have with that defense. I would love that bit there.
Okay, Isaiah, where do you think Justin Simmons goes?
I think he goes to the Bears. The Bears need all the defensive help that they can get. And, he was, for me, Justin Simmons, and I think I posted this in our group chat. I was shocked that he got cut because I was like, dude, he was very productive. You're cutting a player who is one of your better defensive players on your unit. It just didn't make a lot of sense. But I think he goes to the highest paid, the highest bidding team. I think the Bears are desperate. They need secondary help. They need like all kinds of defensive help. So I got him going to the Bears because Matt Eberflus knows if he doesn't win next year, he's most likely out the door.
Remember,
speaking of Justin Simmons, guys, he had 53 tackles last year, solo tackles. So, like, he specifically still playing at a really high level. I think it came down to Isaiah just because their cap situation, they probably had to kind of work things around, and they had to obviously look at Buffalo. We'll talk about Buffalo a little bit, but they moved up from so many key pieces because of cap. That's really the thing. So that had to be the case.
And for Isaiah's case going to Chicago, they just did release Eddie Jackson, their safety.
Oh, okay.
He's older, so
Yep.
Makes sense then.
That's a good, yeah.
And I think Jalen Johnson, the guy they tagged, also got extended. So that's another piece to the secondary.
Corner there. So next up is my comeback player of the year nominee that wasn't. Calvin Ridley, the receiver. Oh, man. Either New England or Chicago for me, but I don't think he would fit well there. But I'm gonna say New England. I think they kind of hesitate and grab him. I just feel like he'll probably be good for a slot receiver in New England for whomever is the quarterback there. I'll start off with you, Ben. Where do you see Calvin Ridley going?
Guys, see my hat right here? This is gonna be the biggest acquisition for us this offseason. Calvin Ridley is going to be a New England Patriot. I've been on the Calvin Ridley train for a long time, and I think that with $100 million that we have in cap space, we're number one. We've been dire in need of a receiver, and no matter who if you get in the draft, do they get somebody and veteran like you mentioned, Isaiah Elliott Wolf wants to weaponize the offense. No, they're better fit than Calvin Ridley. So I think they'll get him probably for like 5-6 years, if I had to say. And I just think that him with Jacksonville, I think he's going to go where the money goes. I think he'll come to pass.
All right, Isaiah, what do you think about Calvin Ridley?
This is probably going to be another big bomb for me. I got him going, and I hate to say this, I got him going to the Kansas City Chiefs because they need a receiver.
I hope not.
And this is the thing about free agency. Every year you have a team that there's no way this team is going to make a major move because they're cash strapped. They don't got any cash to spend whatsoever. And then they somehow, some way find a way to figure out and make a deal happen with some of these top free agents, like the Niners last year with Hargraves, the Bengals with Orlando Brown. And then you have like the Chiefs a couple of years ago getting a couple of offensive linemen, and you're just like, how do they get them when they're so cash strapped? I think Calvin Ridley goes there because he's the guy that I feel like a lot of teams might not touch because of his off-the-field issues. And also when he was on the field, he was injured. He didn't really have that good of a year. So I say Kansas City with Patrick Mahomes wanting to win. It pains me to say this, but I think they get their number one receiver.
Well, they're also looking at Mike Evans for a while, so they probably had a backup already ready to go. So it would suck if that happened, but we'll see.
All right, so defensive end linebacker Patrick Queen, the former Raven. For me, I think Detroit kind of wants to build on what they have going, but I think they want to get a little tougher on defense with the linebackers. They have Arizona's fine, but I think they want to get a little tougher. So I think Patrick Queen goes to Detroit. Let's start off with Isaiah.
I think he's very young, and this is going to be his very first payday, and he's very essential to the Ravens' defense, so I could see him re-signing there, and I think they need him because he was a big part of their defense, but he's going to try to get the money, and it makes a lot of sense. I got him going to the Washington Commanders to be with Dan Quinn. You know, Dan Quinn loves his linebackers. His linebackers need to be very aggressive. Patrick Queen is a very aggressive linebacker, and they have a lot of money to spend. They have to fix their defense because their defense haven't been good in like a couple years now. So for me, I got him going to the Washington Commanders. I just think it makes a lot of sense.
All right, how about you, Isaiah?
I got Patrick Queen going to the Eagles. That's my second acquisition for that defense. They really need to get their defense figured out from that middle to that back end. I thought that their defense, their linebackers were really older last year. You bring a guy like Patrick Queen and Simmons to help out with that tackling and getting a little more physical, and the Eagles could be back to where they were a couple years ago. So I got Patrick Queen go to Philly.
All right, for defensive end Chase Young, the 49ers had him and he didn't really play. He didn't really use him well. Anyway, this is a young superstar. Well, was a superstar, banged up. I don't know how many years he'll get on the contract. For me, this screams out the Falcons. I feel like they'll take a flyer on him and maybe have him for a year or two before he gets cut. I think they need to get better a little bit up front. They have everything offensively, but it depends if they get Kirk Cousins as well. But I think I'm going to go with the Falcons for Chase Young. What do you think, Ben?
I'm going to go with the Bears. I think that the Bears really need some help in that pass rush. And also, too, guys, Montrezl Sweat. He brings back with an old friend. He gets a little bit of a payday because obviously the Bears need some help in that front end. Going to go back to Chicago.
All right, what about you, Isaiah?
I got him going back to San Francisco. I think Nick Bosa loves him. He and Bosa are best friends. Bosa's been advocating for Chase Young to be a Niner forever. So I think John Lynch is going to listen to Bosa to try to keep him. Niners need a lot of defensive ends because opposite of Bosa, they have a lot of free agent defensive ends that are going to be coming off the board. So I think they bring him back short, like 2-3 year deal. And also, I don't know if a lot of teams. Keep in mind, guys, I don't know if a lot of teams will chase Chase Young a lot because the problem with Chase Young is the off the field issues, and also he's been injured a lot, and also on the field there's been a lot of instances where he's been caught not trying. So I don't know if the teams would want a guy like that. That's why I think for him, he's going to have to probably get like a 1 or 2 year deal and then prove himself and then go back on the market later on and get a bigger payday. So I got him going back to the Niners.
I was considering him going back to want to prove it, but I think he's going to go to Bears to reunite.
All right, the next one hits kind of home to me. The Chargers don't have the cap space to keep Austin Eckler, or they would have to maneuver stuff to get around. I think he's going to go to Indianapolis. They released, I think, Nathaniel Hines. He's gone, so they need that. They need that pass catcher, workhorse up the middle. I think maybe that's something that they're really, really missing. So I'm going to go Indy for Austin Eckler. What do you think, Isaiah?
I got him going to Philadelphia to be a Philadelphia Eagle. Kellen Moore, who was the offensive coordinator of the Chargers last year, he is going to be the new offensive coordinator of the Eagles. So I think he follows him to Philadelphia. And Eckler, he didn't have that great of a year that would warrant him getting a lot of money. Plus, there's a lot of great backs on the free agent market. So I just think that that's going to really dim his market. And, Philly, they don't have a lot of running backs. Boston Scott, he's all right. DeAndre Swift is a free agent. Who knows if they're going to bring him back? I just think that connection to Kellen Moore makes a lot of sense. So I'm going to go Eckler to Philly.
How about you, Ben?
I'm going to go with the Vikings. The Vikings just moved on from Alexander Madison. They still have Tyson. They got Ty Chandler there. But I have in my case, I have Kirk Cousins going back to Minnesota. They bring Austin Eckler, and then you kind of have like a little three-headed monster with Kirk, Eckler, and Justin Jefferson. So I have Eckler going to Minnesota.
All right. The next one is offensive tackle Mike Onwenu, the former Patriot. They did not be able to keep him, so he's likely a free agent here. I'm going to say he goes to Houston and anchors that offensive line there to help out C.J. Stroud. Ben, since it's a Patriot or maybe somewhere else, I'll start off with you.
Yeah, I mean, I would love Big Mike to come back. He is by far the best offensive lineman that the Pats have had the last couple of years. I think they'll do what they can to try to bring him back, but sadly, in my case, I think he walks. I haven't gone the Giants. The Giants really need a ton of help on the offensive line, whether it's been injuries or just they haven't had guys specifically be consistent on that offensive line. So I have him going over to New York.
How about you, Isaiah?
Remember, fellas, how I said that every year in free agency, you just see a couple teams come out of nowhere and just make these big bombshell moves. For me, this is going to be one of those cases. I got Mike Onwenu going to the San Francisco 49ers to help that Niners offensive line. The salary cap jump is going to help these contending teams like the Niners and the Chiefs a lot because they get a lot of money to spend now to either re-sign their own guys or keep their own guys or go out there and make splashes that you're just like, how do they even afford these guys that they signed? So the Niners know they need some help on the offensive line. Trent Williams, you have Trent Williams there, and then it's like, who else but Trent Williams? Burford, Banks, they're a bunch of they're young guys who are unproven. Go get Mike Onwenu. It will really help that offensive line to help anchor and protect Brock Purdy. So I got Big Mike. Yeah.
So obviously your question in the chat, by the way, he could play either. He's played tackle and he's played also guard. So that also.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's good for the Niners because Kyle Shanahan loves his offensive linemen to be very versatile as well. So I got him going to San Fran.
All right, defensive end Bryce Huff. Now, he could be going an array of places. I mean, anybody would take an edge rusher that can make a young and impact. For me, I got him going to the Seattle Seahawks. They need to kind of revamp their rushing attack. So I think he goes to Seattle and makes that happen. Isaiah, where do you see Bryce Huff going?
Ooh, wow, this is another tough one because he's one of the better pass rushers out there on the market, and pass rushers are at a premium in the NFL. I think he goes back to the Jets. The Jets pride themselves on defense. You know, Aaron Rodgers is coming off a torn Achilles, so the defense most likely will have to carry you, especially for the first half of the season. You gotta, keep stocking up that defense and make that defense as strong as possible because I don't think you can rely on Aaron Rodgers' greatness being great for the first half of the season because you don't know how he's going to hold up with that Achilles tear. So I got Bryce Huff. I mean, and he's played really good with Robert Saleh in that system. I think he goes back to New York.
All right, Ben, how about you?
I have him going to the Patriots. I think that he's going to be the Josh Uche replacement. Josh Uche is a free agent. I think he's going to walk, and I think that Bryce Huff is going to come in. I think that the Patriots are going to obviously address a little bit on the offensive line. They're going to adjust the wide receiver, defensive line, and one pass rusher. And I don't think they're going to go out and get a massive pass rusher, but I think Bryce Huff on a 2-year type deal probably won't cost you a lot compared to some other guys. And he played with the Jets, so obviously he's been in the division before. So I know obviously they kind of don't move guys that are in division, but I think he's going to be on the Patriots.
All right, so this corner just got released by the Bills, and unfortunately he had an injury in the early of the season last year. Tre'Davious White, this one is interesting. He's getting a little older, but he's still pretty reliable. I have him going to Cincinnati. I think they need a little corner help. One side is good, but the other side, they need a little help in the secondary. They also need some safeties as well. But I think for a corner, they want to go with someone that's a veteran, someone that knows the Bills as well. We've seen him play playoff games against each other. I think that would be a little fun there. So for Tre'Davious White, again, Cincinnati. Ben, where do you see Tre'Davious White going?
I got Tre'Davious White becoming a member of the San Francisco 49ers. The San Francisco 49ers need some help in their cornerback. I don't think he would cost the bank for you specifically, and I think that he would really fit that overall scheme in San Francisco. So I have White going to San Francisco.
How about you, Isaiah?
This is a tough one because I'm looking at him right now, 29 years of age. Like you mentioned, he is coming off injuries, but he's had 18 interceptions in his career. That's a lot. And this guy is a ball hawk cornerback who can just flat out go get the ball. I don't think he's going to break the bank. But for me, he's tough. Ooh, you know what? I don't know why, but I think the Denver Broncos, even though they cut Russell Wilson, they've cut a bunch of players. They know last year they almost made the playoffs, and they're gonna try to build their team to try to make the playoffs this season. I got to go to the Denver opposite of Patrick Surtain. You know, they need a corner now opposite of Surtain. They released Simmons. There might be more moves coming, but like I got them getting Kirk Cousins as well. And when you get Kirk Cousins, that signals that, hey, we're going all in on trying to make the playoffs this upcoming season. So I got them getting Tre'Davious White, help make the defense even better.
Okay, running back Derrick Henry. Now, this one is pretty tough because there's people seeing that, hey, maybe he can stay with the tight ends and just be a lifelong tight end. But I think the rest of us want him to go somewhere where he can win. You know, the shelf life for a running back is really small. It's between Philadelphia and Dallas for me. And I feel like Dallas is going to lose out on him, and then they have to pay CeeDee Lamb at some point. So I think he's going to go to Philadelphia and I think try to help out with the running game. So I'm going to say Philadelphia. Isaiah, who do you think Derrick Henry ends up with?
Derrick Henry, fellas. This is another bombshell. Derrick Henry is coming to the Bay. That's where he's coming. The Niners have been interested in him reportedly for the last several years. They want a power back with CMC. Derrick Henry's perfect because he's a guy that you just give the ball to. No, you don't have to run him north, south. You can just run him up the middle, and he'll get you those hard-earned physical yards. And that's what you need because you don't want to put a lot of damage on CMC. And it's obvious that Kyle Shanahan does not trust Eli Mitchell or trust Jordan Mason or any of those running backs. He wants a bell cow back next to CMC. The Niners love to run the football. And also – I don't think he's going to get a lot because it's a big it's going to be a massive market for running backs. I think that with his age against him and like the wear and tear against him, I think he's going to have to settle for maybe like a 1 or 2 year deal at a short price. And he's going to go to a contender that way. So I got King Henry coming to the Bay, fellas, to pair with Christian McCaffrey and make that Niners offense even more lethal.
Okay, Ben, back to reality. Where do you think Derrick Henry goes?
Yeah, unfortunately, I don't have him going to San Fran. I have him going to Baltimore. That Ravens, specifically that offense, is very run heavy. You put him in that offense with Lamar Jackson. I think that would be a great fit, for that Ravens team. He goes over. He still stays in the AFC, but I think that he goes to a team that is ready to win now. So I have him going to Baltimore.
All right. Next up is Gabe Davis, the wide receiver formerly of Buffalo. I think someone's going to give him a payday, and I think it's going to be the Washington Commanders. They're going to try to get him to be that number 1, number 2 guy with McLaurin there, but be that deep threat that we've seen. So I'm going to think Gabe Davis to Washington. Isaiah, what say you?
This is another tough one. And you know what? I'm going to do it anyways. I think that Gabe Davis re-signs in Buffalo with a caveat. And Ben, you might want to put your camera on because this is going to be a crazy, crazy hot take of mine. I know Josh Allen loves throwing the football to Gabe Davis. The Bills are strapped massively at salary cap space. He doesn't cause a lot of issues. He's very, very young. He's 24 years of age. He's going to go back to Buffalo, and I think Stephon Diggs gets traded. There's been a lot of rumors about Diggs, him not being happy with Josh Allen, being happy with McDermott, him not being happy with the offense. It just seems like it's the right time for both of these parties to part ways. And if you keep Stephon Diggs, you're most likely losing Gabe Davis. So if I'm the Bills, it looks like the Bills want to go young. They don't care about, star power. That's why they've released everybody in their secondary minus Taylor Rapp. So I got them going and trading Stephon Diggs and keeping Gabe Davis and him being their replacement for Stephon Diggs and being their wide receiver 1.
It's not that great. Ben, what do you think about Gabe Davis?
I'm with you, James. I have him going to the Commanders. I think he's going to go where the money goes. They do have Terry McLaurin. They still have Jahan Dotson, but I think that he just kind of fits that mold there. They have just a lot of young guys there. Specifically, it's a younger type team. And, I don't think he really matters specifically about, at this point in time, winning a ring, because obviously he's had a chance in Buffalo a couple times, and he has not gotten that job yet. So maybe at some point he will, but I think he's going to go where the money is, goes to Washington with a younger offense.
All right, so this one is tough, and it's a thing that Isaiah just mentioned to me. Who's going to want or touch Jamal Adams with the baggage he's brought from the Jets to the Seahawks and now his next location? I'm torn on this because I don't want to see him as a Raider. I think that would be toxic as heck. I'm going to say for now, I'm going to say a Tampa Bay Buccaneer. I think since they kind of made some room on that defense, they're going to probably get him late in the signing process. So I'm going to say with the Bucs. Ben, where do you think safety Jamal Adams goes?
A team that loves safeties, not the Pittsburgh Steelers. I think that he's going to go there and be alongside Minkah Fitzpatrick. Pittsburgh, and Pittsburgh with guys have baggage. I don't know, for some odd reason they always seem to have people like that. It's obviously just not like a situation there, but I think he just goes in and molds really well there. So I have him going to Pittsburgh.
That's a good reason why though. Isaiah, where do you see safety Jamal Adams going?
This is for me probably the toughest out of this list because I'm just he's got so much off the field issues, and on the field he can't stay healthy. He's not even really that productive anymore. So who's gonna touch him? I don't really know. For me, and I know, James, you're gonna get so pissed off at me when I say this. This screams Raiders. This just screams Raiders. Because have you listened to Antonio Pierce and his statements? He wants to build the Raiders like the bad boy Raiders of the past, and getting all the attitude and the baggage and the Raiders versus everybody. This just screams Raiders for me. It screams the perfect
Isaiah, what did
player.
You do?
I'm sorry, James, but going based off of what Antonio Pierce has said, this screams like the perfect player for Antonio Pierce and a perfect Raider. Hard hitting, got the baggage. He wants to be a bad boy. It makes a lot of sense.
Is he going to get the bag literally and figuratively?
Ugh.
Sorry, I had to put that.
That's why I mentioned the Raiders first when I was thinking about destination. He better not. They better not get him, but I could see it. But I was hoping either Tampa Bay or Pittsburgh because of your reasons and mine.
Yeah.
But Isaiah, it would fit. I mean, they got Jack Jones, who is a firecracker. But
yeah, they get a bunch of those guys that are rebellious. They got a lot of baggage. Jack Jones, yep. That's why I can see Jamal Adams.
That's what they used to, the whole lifespan of the Raiders in Oakland, LA, wherever. They've always done that. Get the renegades that people didn't want on their team and try to put them in an environment where they can all thrive. But everybody else doesn't do that. It's just okay, we got to get away from that and have a different mindset. Okay, so running back Tony Pollard, you guys remember I picked him going to the Arizona Cardinals. I just feel like he's going to chase the money, and then eventually in a couple of years we won't see him. So I feel like that with Tony Pollard. Ben, where do you see Tony Pollard ending up?
I have him going back to Dallas on a pay cut. I think specifically he's going to take less to stay with Dallas. I think that they might get another running back in the draft possibly to maybe pair along with him that's a little bit younger. But I think that he's going to stick around. I think that he kind of deserves it at least for a couple more years. It won't be a massive contract, but I think he's going to take a little bit less and, get his money there. So I have him going back on a pay cut.
All right, Isaiah, where do you think running back Tony Pollard goes?
You know, the one thing I did want to add on Adams was that, keep in mind, Marvin Lewis is now on the Raiders staff. Remember, Marvin Lewis in Cincinnati brought a lot of guys that had baggage. Montez Burfict, Adam Pac-Man Jones, so I could see that. As far as Pollard, Pollard, jeez. Here's the thing. And thanks to, I know Ben had to go. He'll watch the rest of the show. Appreciate you for hopping on, Ben. Hope to see you maybe next week when free agency has already begun. This is tough because, who really needs a running back? Because I got the Cowboys getting Barkley. I have the Eagles getting Eckler. I have the Niners getting Derrick Henry, even though they don't really need him. And Pollard's been really injured. He hasn't really been the same. I think he goes to the New York Jets, James, and be that second bell cow with Breece Hall. Because remember, Dalvin Cook was supposed to be that second guy to make that offense even more explosive. It didn't work out. You can't trust Aaron Rodgers to just do everything. Coming off a torn Achilles, they're going to run the football a lot with Breece Hall, and also Tony Pollard can spell him. I think on a short deal, I think it makes a lot of sense. Jets get Tony Pollard for me.
Wow. I can see that, though. That's true. All right, let me go next with wide receiver Jaywan Jennings, the former Niner, correct?
That's correct.
Okay. This one's pretty tough because there's not a market out there for him as much as I think others would think. My gut is telling me maybe he'll stay with the 49ers. But they're $3 million under the cap, so I don't think they want to go sign anyone until they get rid of someone. Surprise, I think he's going to be a Raider. What do you think?
Wow. Okay.
What do you think?
I think he stays in San Fran. I think it just is a logical fit because he's a guy that is, physical. He's like an Anquan Bowden, where you just throw up the ball, he'll go up and get it, despite having like one or two defenders on his back. So I got him staying in San Fran. I think he has a perfect role with the Niners, where if Brock Purdy needs like a guy desperately on third down to convert that into a first down. I think Jaywan Jennings, he's that guy, and I think he's perfect for that role. So I think he stays in San Fran.
Okay, Danielle Hunter, I skipped on defensive end. I think he's going to go to Tampa and replace Shaq Barrett there. So where do you think Danielle Hunter goes?
Ooh. Man, that's a tough one as well. I think Danielle Hunter, he wants to win. And so I think he's going to take less money because he's gotten paid a lot in his career and go to a contender. He's 29 years of age. I think that, he's been losing a lot now. I think he goes to the Detroit Lions to be next to Aiden Hutchinson. They need that edge rusher next to Aiden Hutchinson to really maximize Aiden Hutchinson. And, he's seen the Lions, a lot in his career. He knows that the Lions are the top team in the NFC North right now. And the Lions know Green Bay is coming. Jordan Love is coming, and you got to have a pass rush to contain Jordan Love. So I got him going to Detroit.
All right, offensive lineman Jonah Williams, Cincinnati Bengal, but he'll probably go somewhere else. If he does, this screams Minnesota for me. They could use some more protection there. If not Chicago, I'm going to say Cincinnati. Where do you think Jonah Williams, the offensive lineman, ends up, Isaiah?
Oh, this is another tough one. Isn't Jonah Williams the guy that – no – he didn't request a trade this past offseason, I think. He's still very young, 26 years of age. James, I got him going to his hometown team. I got him going to the Atlanta Falcons to help fortify that Atlanta offensive line. They're going to need a quarterback. They might get Justin Fields. We'll talk about him when we get to the trade segment. But if you get a running quarterback, you're going to need an offensive line. an offensive lineman to replace him. So I got him going to Atlanta.
All right. So one of your favorite quarterbacks for some awful reason, Drew Lock. For me, I think he backs up in Carolina. I'm going to say Drew Lock in Carolina. I know it doesn't make sense, but I think he's just trying to find somewhere to go, and whoever will pay him the most. Really, I can't see anywhere else unless it's one of these teams that will not draft a quarterback. But if they're drafting a quarterback, I can't see him going anywhere near there. So that's why I'm saying Carolina. Drew Lock, where do you think, Isaiah?
There's been a lot of teams actually that are interested in Drew Lock because of what he did in spot start of Geno Smith, and there's been reports that he could get 15 to 17 mil on his deal. And James, you're not gonna like what you're about to hear. The Raiders are reportedly one of the teams linked to Drew Lock and has been mentioned as a perfect fit. So, I mean, he's still young. Maybe he's matured. Maybe he's grown up. Who knows? He's got a cannon of an arm, though, I'll tell you that. As much as I would love him in San Fran, I don't think it's going to happen. I think he wants to get a starting job. And so for me, that's Drew Lock. I gotta go where my gut takes me. I think he goes to the Raiders as their bridge quarterback because they're like their one team that's been linked to him right now. And when there's a little bit of smoke, there is usually fire. So Drew Lock to the Raiders, James, and you're gonna have Drew Lock as he won't be your future. He'll be your bridge quarterback, and because you're probably not gonna draft the quarterback. You're probably gonna draft the quarterback late, but he's probably not gonna start right away, like a Bo Nix, JJ McCarthy, who knows? Antonio Pierce has said, I want an aggressive offense. So Drew Lock, gunslinger, see what he can do.
All right, so linebacker, Dolphin here. Andrew Van Ginkel, who came on late in the season and unfortunately got one of those injuries. Ben Cruz saying Drew Lock back to Seattle. That was my number 2 option, honestly. I could definitely see that more than the Raiders, I hope. Andrew Van Ginkel. This screams the Falcons or the Patriots to me. I'm like torn, or the Titans. Oh, man. I think he wants to stay on the East Coast, though. I'm going to say the Falcons for Van Ginkel. Where do you think he's going?
This is another tough one as well. I think he goes to the Seahawks. They need defensive help. Jordan Brooks, their linebacker, is a free agent. So they do need help at that linebacking position. And the Seahawks do have some money to spend. They need to improve their defense because we know their offense is going to be able to score. Can they stop anybody is the bigger question. And you have San Fran. You have the Rams, who are very explosive offenses in your division. If you want to get to the playoffs, you have to at least beat the Niners and the Rams, one of them at least one time. So I got him going to Seattle with Mike McDonald, the defensive coordinator, the new defensive coordinator, or the head coach, of the Seattle Seahawks.
All right. Man, this one's pretty tough because we were talking about kickers earlier this year or earlier today. So Will Lutz comes up. He was a Bronco last year, on and off there. They're not tagging him. I think he stays, though, with Denver. I think Sean Payton will keep him around, and he'll stay in Denver. The altitude, helps there. So I'm going to say Denver. What do you think for Will Lutz, our only kicker on the list?
Yes, I know, right? Special teams matters, James. Special teams matters a lot. For Will Lutz, I think he goes back to Denver. Makes a lot of sense. Sean Payton, him and Sean Payton were together in New Orleans. Sean Payton brought him over because he wanted someone he was familiar with. So I think he goes back to Denver. I think it just makes a lot of sense with that altitude you talked about. It's a perfect fit for both sides.
Yeah, definitely on that. All right. The next one here, Devin White, he was released, the linebacker from well, with the Buccaneers, now he's a free agent. Man, this one, he can help so many different teams on this list. But I'm going to go Seattle. I think if Bobby Wagner isn't back, I think that would help them out. You also look at Detroit as well if the other linebacker doesn't go there. But I'm going to go with Seattle for Devin White. What do you think?
For Devin White, Devin White's another tough candidate as well. I got Devin White. Oh, he's a Super Bowl hero. Him and Levante David are a great pairing. Having said that, I think he's going to go to Seattle as well because they have two big-time linebackers of free agents, Jordan Brooks and also Bobby Wagner. I think you want to get younger at that position. So you bring in two younger linebackers in Devin White and Andrew Van Ginkel. I think it makes sense. That really drastically improves your linebacking position, which is a great step, though, in helping your defense. So I got Devin White ending up in Seattle because Mike Macdonald loves aggressive linebackers. His linebackers either, they're really good at coverage or they're really good at rushing after the quarterback and stopping the run. And I think both Van Ginkel and Devin White are great fits for Mike Macdonald's defense.
All right, the last one on here, and this one is really, really tough because I don't know if there's a market for this man, but Ryan Tannehill, the quarterback, man, it just screams that he'll stay with the Titans, but I think they're even done with him. Gosh, man. For me, I'm going to say the New York Jets. I think he backs up Aaron Rodgers there. That's all I could think of. Devin White to the Raiders, Ben, I love that. They can always use some more defensive help, but they have to get another receiver and another quarterback and running back. So I think that's before that. So, yeah, I'm going to say the Jets get Ryan Tannehill. What do you think, Isaiah?
I could see that. I do love that fit of Tannehill to the Jets because the Jets, they better have learned their lesson because last year was a disaster after Aaron Rodgers tore his Achilles. You were trotting out Zach Wilson. You were trotting out Trevor Siemian, I think, made some appearances. I mean, that quarterback carousel in New York was awful for the Jets. So, you know what? I'm going to agree with you. I think he's a Jet. The Jets know they have to drastically upgrade the backup quarterback situation. Aaron Rodgers is older now, and you get a proven quarterback. Tim Boyle as well. Thanks, man. I completely forgot about the name. I mean, that's how irrelevant he was. But Tannehill to the Jets makes a lot of sense. He's played in that offense the Jets run. He's got familiarity with the Jets. I mean, not with the Jets, but in that offense. And also you upgrade the backup quarterback situation, which just in case Aaron Rodgers gets hurt, you do have a starting caliber quarterback at your disposal at your backup.
All right. So that was fun. Now let's get to the trade candidates. Should they stay or should they go now? All right. Justin Fields, quarterback. He's, all over the news basically for so many different reasons. Are they going to trade him? Are they going to keep him? What are the Bears going to do? If he goes somewhere, do you think Justin Fields stays or goes? For me, man, I feel like the Bears, no matter what, they'll get Caleb Williams despite the combine, showing up to work but not showing up, not bringing your number 2 pencil to school. That's what it felt like with Caleb Williams last Friday. I think Justin Fields, he gets traded. I don't know where, though, but I think he gets traded. What do you think, Isaiah?
I think he stays in Chicago, actually. I think the Bears are legitimately torn about Justin Fields or Caleb Williams. I don't think they want to deal with Williams' father and his off-the-field issues. And also, Justin Fields was very impressive down the stretch last season as he helped them helped them win a lot of games, which a lot of people thought they wouldn't. So I think in a new offense, sorry, James, that your Raiders now have Luke Getsy, the new offensive coordinator of your Raiders. I think that's why he was getting held back, because of Luke Getsy. I think with the new offense, I think it'll be better for Justin Fields. You just got to put weapons around him. You got to fix that defense. You won 5 games last year. You won 5 games despite having one of the worst defenses and offenses in the NFL. So I got him staying with the Bears. I think they'll put weapons around him and fix that defense, and they'll be better in 2024.
All right. So the next one up is tight end Mark Andrews from the Baltimore Ravens. I can't see the Ravens trading him. What do you think?
It will be a shock if they did, but here's the thing. There's been a lot of shocks the past couple of off seasons, and Baltimore does. They are salary cap strapped, and remember, Mark Andrews is coming off an injury, so
that's true.
I don't think they'll trade him, but I've seen crazier things happen before, so I wouldn't rule it out, especially with his injury. And it just seems like Baltimore doesn't really prioritize the passing game a lot. They prioritize more of the running game. There's been talks they won't even re-sign Odell Beckham Jr. So I don't think that he's going to get traded, but if he does, it won't shock me, because who knew Tyreek Hill was going to get traded? I mean, that came out of nowhere, and then you had other players getting traded left and right. Like for me, the NFL never surprises me.
All right, so you mentioned this, in the free agency move about Gabe Davis, but wide receiver Stephon Diggs. I thought if a trade was going to happen, it was last offseason after the playoff loss and the media blowaway. So I thought that was going to happen then. So I don't think a trade's going to happen then or now with Stephon Diggs. What do you think? Andrew stays, Ben says. But what do you think, Isaiah, for Diggs?
I think he goes. And I think, James, you might call me crazy for this. Don't worry, he's not going to go to the San Francisco 49ers, even though I want Stephon Diggs. I think Stephon Diggs will get traded, and he's actually going to get traded in division to the New York Jets. Aaron Rodgers desperately wants a number 1 receiver with Garrett Wilson. Devontae Adams is not available. Mike Evans is back with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, so that leaves Stephon Diggs. And I think the Bills are sick of him. They don't want his attitude issues anymore. They rather have Gabe Davis, because I feel like he's a younger, more productive wide receiver. And these receivers, they've got a shelf life. So I think Diggs goes to the Jets. And I think that he pairs up with Aaron Rodgers to have a tremendous second act of his career. And I don't think Jets have a first-round pick this year, too. I feel like they do, right? Yeah, so the Jets have the 10th overall pick in the 2024 NFL draft. I think they trade the 10th overall pick to Buffalo, and 10th overall pick to Buffalo in the deal to get Stephon Diggs.
I don't see an in-division trade. I just don't. All right, Mac Jones, quarterback. Or Ben mentions Diggs asks out and pairs with his brother in Dallas. Bombshell. Man, have we seen that in the NFL? Where brothers come together, but one asks for a trade, who's a star, and goes joins his brother? We haven't really seen that. That'd be almost the first nowadays.
James, I also got another place for Diggs. Do not rule out Jacksonville, because remember, if they lose Ridley, they are going to need a number 1 with Trevor Lawrence.
They paid all those receivers a couple of off seasons ago.
Yeah, they paid Kirk a lot of money, but I think he's off the books next year, right? I think he's off the books.
Maybe, but I still want to do that. With the unexperienced quarterback like Lawrence, who lost his way last year, I just don't see that working out. Diggs has to have, like an established, quarterback, I think. I just don't see Lawrence as that. All right, quarterback Mac Jones. Does anybody want him? Yeah. I don't. He's traded probably for a 5th or 6th rounder. Oh, man, this is bad. Ugh. I wouldn't be surprised if the Denver Broncos maybe go after him. I will say Denver. What do you think, Isaiah?
I think that he goes to Minnesota to replace Kirk Cousins. There's been talks today that I forgot who put this out there, but Ian Rappaport put this out there earlier today, saying that teams have been calling, telling the Patriots that they have interest in trading Mac Jones, and the Patriots are reportedly open to it. Someone, I forgot who it was today, that in a separate tweet said that these are the teams that have reportedly had interest in Mac Jones. And these are some of the teams that are interested. The Rams, the 49ers, the Denver Broncos, the Giants, the Vikings, the Falcons, and the Raiders. Here's the problem. I could see, and I told you, I think, James, I told you this morning. For the love of God, Kyle Shanahan, do not trade for Mac Jones. If you're going to trade with New England and get a quarterback, go get Bailey Zappi. I know the Niners have a need at backup quarterback because Brandon Allen and Sam Darnold are free agents, but please do not trade for Mac Jones. I could see Kyle doing it, James. I really could. I think because Kyle was enamored with Mac Jones in the draft, and reportedly the only reason why he picked Trey Lance is because he got talked out of it by ownership. So he wants freaking Mac Jones. And the Niners were interested a lot in Sam Darnold. And what happened? We ultimately got him. So I could see Kyle just doing some BS like that and just go get Mac Jones to be the backup quarterback because he thinks he could turn his career around. But I think the Vikings offer a starting quarterback job to replace Kirk Cousins because they need a bridge quarterback. They don't have anybody. I think it's Josh Dobbs, or he's a free agent. Nick Mullins is a free agent. They need quarterbacks. I think they trade a fourth round pick to go get Mac Jones. Maybe a new change of scenery could help him, and maybe, just maybe, James, he could turn into Ryan Tannehill 2.0.
Yikes! No, well, that would be a step up, no doubt about that. Zach Wilson. Speaking of quarterbacks that nobody wants, does he get traded? Yes or no? Oh, man. Does anybody want him is a question. You know what? I'm going to say Vikings. You go Jones. You went Jones, or you were thinking Jones, but I'm going to go Vikings for Zach Wilson. I think he just backs up whomever will go there, and that's it. Or he just gets released, which could happen to any of these guys, honestly. Isaiah, where do you have Zach Wilson? Does he get traded or no?
He gets traded, and he gets traded to my hometown of the Bay Area to pair with Kyle Shanahan and backup Brock Purdy. The Niners have reportedly been very enamored with Zach Wilson in the past. They need backup quarterbacks. They love Zach Wilson, how he can run around and improvise and throw the football. I think back in 2021, there was a report that came out that the Niners even thought that Zach Wilson could be the second coming of Patrick Mahomes. So, I mean, he's a serviceable backup, and you need a backup just in case Purdy gets hurt. So I could see the Niners doing it, especially because Wilson's going to come cheap. It's going to probably be like a 7th-round pick, maybe 6th-round pick, and the Niners have like 11 draft picks. So I think that they go out there, they find their backup quarterback. Zach Wilson will be a San Francisco 49er.
I like that name better, Sack Wilson, than Zach Wilson. That sounds definitely better. Ben mentioning here, Zach Wilson will go my way. Or no, well, he had Mac Jones going to Denver, and then he has an all-time quote here saying, or comment here saying, Zach Wilson will be playing in the XFL. You never know. If nobody wants him, what's his other option? Seriously, what's his other option? Next year, you go to XFL and you just try to be a star of that.
How about the Raiders?
No.
I mean, James, let me ask you.
No.
The Raiders, because the Raiders have been linked to both of these guys and also Drew Lock, right? Like, that's a nightmare for you. So, out of those three, right, who would you be more, annoyed the most that you got, honestly?
Mac Jones, because it would go back to having another Patriot in the building. No offense to Ben, but it's just like I don't want to reject Patriot that they didn't want or he didn't do well there. I just don't want another Patriot in the building. I literally want to move the hell on. And Zach Wilson, I think, would have a better fit attitude-wise with the Raiders. And then with Drew Lock, you mentioned his arm. Okay, that can maybe win you some games like we saw with Seattle last year on Monday Night Football.
Yeah.
But none of that is a long-term solution. And
is it worth $15 million a year, though?
No.
You wouldn't give up $15 million for him.
No, that is ridiculous. So speaking of somebody maybe don't want, and this is because of injury and attitude, the Chargers, who are 18 million under the cap, 18.6 under the cap, and they got to get over the cap. I mean, they got to get under there. Joey Bosa, and he's interesting because he keeps getting injured. When he does play, he's really, really good, but he's mostly injured all the time. For me, he has to get traded. So they're looking for the best fit for him, and then where he could go. Oh, man. Something screams out, oh, my God, I don't want to do this. I'm going to say Green Bay Packers. I think maybe they need some help defensively. They could get him for a cheap. So I'm going to say Joey Bosa gets traded to the Green Bay Packers. What do you think, Isaiah? Does he get traded or not?
This is a tough one. First of all, I want to know, why is Jim Harbaugh and the Chargers wanting to trade him? Don't they want to win in Los Angeles?
Yeah, it's the cap. They got to get, under that. And they feel like he's not available enough. And I think Harbaugh, it's almost like a Gruden thing with Khalil Mack, who we're talking about next. If he's not going to fit in the program, they got to get rid of him. So I think that's what it is.
So his contract right now states that he's on a 4-year deal, which has not worked out. He's getting old. Honestly, like his base salary this year, because he restructured it, I think, or no. So his salary next year is gonna be $22 million.
That's too much for the Chargers.
That is way too much. The problem is I don't know who's gonna want him, especially at that salary. Like,
that's why I'm having an issue.
Team, right? Like if you're the Commanders, James, if you're like the Bears, would you take a flyer on him, trade a 7th round pick to get him $22 million a year? But that might even be too much. So I don't think he gets traded. I think he gets flat out cut by the Chargers. Like, I don't see a team that's willing to eat that much money. And James, I think he comes to the Bay and San Fran. I think he pairs with Nick Bosa. There's been a lot of rumors linking those two together. And because he's injury prone, he's not going to get a lot of money. Niners need defensive ends because we have so many free agents on the defensive line that are free agents, and the Bosa brother connections. Like, it just makes sense.
No.
But I could see other teams like Green Bay or maybe even Arizona could take a flyer, maybe.
I think he wants to go to a winning team, though. But next one up, though, Khalil Mack, who he just mentioned. And actually, he stole my thunder a little bit. But I think he gets traded to Washington. That's another reason they can't hold on to Bosa, because of Mack. They literally have to get rid of both in a way. Or no, they could keep one, but who would you rather keep, Bosa or Mack? And I think they want to keep Mack, but if he does get traded, it would be Washington. So what do you think, Isaiah? Where does Khalil Mack get traded or no?
He stays in Los Angeles with Jim Harbaugh. The Chargers They need defensive end help because that defense, you need to build a good defense with Jim Harbaugh. You need to give Jesse Minter, their new defensive coordinator, some great pieces to build that defense. And he had 17 sacks last year, so he's definitely worth the money. He has shown that he could stay healthy recently, and he's definitely less of a liability than Joey Bosa. So I think the Chargers keep him.
All right, so that was fun. Now, we'll talk about some NFL news and notes, who we talked about earlier about this. So the NFL is reporting pushing the NFLPA for an 18-game regular season in the new CBA coming up. Isaiah, I don't like this. I didn't like 17 games. I think 16 is just enough. We get sick of seeing like Carolina and Atlanta not having fans at the game. There's just too many games, honestly. So I think this is also a problem about money as well. Players want more, and they'll be asking for that if they continue to ask for. If the NFL and the owners want more games, the players are going to want more money. It's brutal. So, what do you think about this news? Do you think this will come out where the PA accepts the 18-game regular season, or just sticks with that 17-game regular season? Because there's an extra playoff game as well. I think we'd rather have that than a week 19. We'd rather have a playoff game.
Well, I think here's the first thing is if they have an 18-game season, I think they will most likely expand the playoffs. Don't you think? Like
and have maybe 2 buys.
Yeah. So I think it would be instead of like a 7. Isn't it 17 right now? Right, 7 teams into
17
the
games,
playoffs.
18 weeks.
18 weeks. Yeah, it will be probably 8 teams in the playoffs. Like it would be 8 team. It would be 2 bye weeks. So from that standpoint, I do like it because more teams will actually have to try now instead of just tanking. But also you can make the case like half the league is going to be in the playoffs because you have like 8 from one side, 8 from another. So you have half the league in the playoffs. You water it down. You know what, James? I kind of disagree with you. As a football fan, I do like it because more games, the better. As long as we don't have preseason games, because who wants to see that? But I mean, like it adds more teams to the playoffs most likely, which will be good. It will get more competition in the playoffs. I personally like it. I think that the NFL should have done that 18 playoff in the first place with the 17 game schedule. I don't know why they did 7. It makes no sense. But more football, the better, and also more owners who cannot tank, which is good, and it helps keep the competition in the league. But for the players wise, I can't understand why they are opposed to it because of the fact that if they accept this, then they'll have more wear and tear on their body before the playoffs as already is. But for me, I like it just because of more football.
Yeah. All right. So our next topic, when asked on local radio in Seattle, if Geno Smith will be the next Seahawks or be the starter next season for the Seahawks, brand new head coach Michael McDonald was curiously non-committable to Geno Smith. I think he was recently saying that he would be in the running. We'll see how he does in camp, pretty much. In that article I sent you, for me, it's the truth. I mean, you've seen this with Sean Payton, with his feelings about Russell Wilson coming into the season. You knew he didn't really want him unless he was at his old form. And it feels like Geno Smith, he has a great, first half to his season, but then the second half, he's really, really up and down. I think they want a consistent starter there in Seattle and a head coach that wants their own quarterback. So how do you see this going with Michael McDonald and his comments? How do you like those?
As a guy that has watched football in the NFC West for the past 10 years, this is a no-brainer. The Seahawks, when Drew Lock had his spot start for Geno Smith, they should have never went back to Geno Smith. Because I kept saying, Geno Smith, he's an okay quarterback, but he's got a ceiling. Drew Lock, he makes a lot of mistakes, but guess what? He can, there's, a lot of throws where you're just like, damn, how the hell did he make that throw? He wins you games. And Geno Smith, it's like he's a game manager, but Drew Lock can put you on his back and win you a lot more games. So I think that the ceiling is way higher with Drew Lock than with Geno Smith. I think Geno Smith has a very low ceiling. I think that Mike McDonald, I think that these comments signify that Geno Smith most likely won't be the starter of the Seattle Seahawks next season, and I think that we could see a big shuffle in Seattle. I mean, and it also goes for New York too, because there's rumors that the Giants have been targeting young quarterbacks. Daniel Jones's future is in flux there, so those two are definitely situations to watch out for. But these are very eye-opening comments, because if you're committed to a quarterback, you would say so, but him not being committed shows me that either there's going to be a quarterback competition or Seattle is definitely moving on from Geno Smith. And as a Niner fan, I hope they stick with Geno Smith because they would suck. But, I mean, look at the receivers. Look at their weapons. They have Jackson Smith and Jigba. They have Tyler Lockett. They have DK Metcalf. I mean, you need a guy that can throw the football down the field to maximize that talent. And Geno Smith just doesn't do that well enough. Like, he's a really good runner. He's really good at throwing the intermediate passes. But Seattle has big-time weapons that can change games on deep passes. So that's why I think Drew Lock's a better fit than Geno Smith is for Seattle. And I won't be shocked next season if Drew Lock is the starting quarterback of the Seahawks.
All right, so I had this article and topic just for you because you wanted this, but the 49ers did not. So reportedly, the San Francisco 49ers called Bill Belichick for a defensive coordinator job, but were rebuffed. And I think we all knew eventually Bill Belichick, I think, wanted to take the year off. He didn't want to accept a coordinator job. He's too high and mighty. He wants a head coaching job. That's why I think the Giants next year, if they don't go well, if things don't go well there in New Jersey, I can see that. So, Isaiah, I know you really feel bad about it, but knowing that the 49ers had a shot, at least at Bill Belichick, something you wanted, knowing what you hear now, that they were rejected basically, how do you feel? I know you feel bad because it's like, oh, it's just someone from within getting the job when you could have had someone really, really great at that position.
First of all, I want to stand up and give Kyle Shanahan a loud and clear standing ovation, man. That guy deserves it because he has guts. He has conviction to be able to do that. Because I guarantee you, like 30 of the 32 coaches in the NFL would never dare to even call Bill Belichick. For him to place in a call, man, like, okay, we got denied, but at least we made the call and explored that avenue of trying to get Bill Belichick. And that's all you can ask for. I think Bill Belichick would have been great with the Niners as defensive coordinator, but you know what? I think that it definitely was it was definitely for me, it was like probably a 25 to 75% chance it was going to happen. I don't think it was going to happen. I want it to happen, but I don't think it was a likely possibility. But the fact that they made the call, it's definitely great to see that they're willing to, go do these big moves, the, home run hitting moves. They're willing to do that. So I appreciate that from the Niners. But for Belichick, Bill Belichick is stubborn as heck. James, he's stubborn as heck because he could have coached the Niners, made our defense one of the best defenses in NFL history, and then he could have gone on to have any head coaching job he wanted. He would have had any NFL team go out there and basically bow down to him and be like, hey, come be our coach, Bill. Come be our coach, Bill. Come be our coach. We'll give you 15, 20, 25, 30 million to be our coach. Please be our coach. He would have been like what Deion Sanders was to the 49ers. Win a Super Bowl and then have any offer that he wanted. But Bill said no. I don't get it. Like, okay, you want to do media? Like, why? Like, I mean, you have a okay personality. I don't think he has the personality for the media. But Bill Belichick, you had the golden opportunity in your hand. Call plays on defense for 1 year. Swallow your ego. Call plays on defense for 1 year. Win another Super Bowl and then get any head coaching job you want. Like, it would have been a perfect plan for Bill Belichick. I don't understand why Belichick said no. I know, like, because he's a 6-time champ, he doesn't want to work as a defensive coordinator, but the Niners defensive coordinator, James, is different than any other defensive coordinator because they are like a team filled with so much talent that 1 year you could get a head coaching job, whether it's your first year calling defense or your like 17th year calling defense.
All right. So our last topic for the evening, the Buffalo Bills revamped their secondary as they released quarterback Tre'Davious White, who we talked about earlier, and safety Jordan Poyer. Both have had injury issues. I guess both are getting up there in age. While they signed Taylor Rapp to a 3-year, $14.5 million extension. What? I mean, I know it's here to save $1 here or two, but when I saw this news, I was just like, what? Man, they're really, really cutting cheap. And Taylor Rapp, man, okay. He makes some hard-hitting plays we've seen, but, man, he's not the other two players that they cut. And a reminder, they cut other players as well, did the Bills. So they had a tough time here with the roster as of late, but somehow they keep Taylor Rapp. I know you wanted him on a certain football team, but they decided to keep him around for some reason. We'll never know. So, what's your first? Give me the news just on the Bills releasing White and Poyer, because those are great names that have been there a long time. And then the second and the final, well, this will probably be a rant by you, I'm guessing. But Taylor Rapp staying on with the Buffalo Bills.
Well, my first reaction to the Bills changing up their secondary like that is like you. Like, I was shocked. I was in Portland actually when the news broke that they had released Tre'Davious White, that they had released Jordan Poyer, and I was like, what? Like, what's going on in Buffalo? Has there been like a hack into their system, and that's why all these players are getting released? Because these are players that are productive. These are players that, yeah, some of them were coming off injury, but they were still major parts of your secondary. And you need a good defense to be able to combat Patrick Mahomes and Joe Burrow in the AFC. So I was very shocked. I don't know what the plan is for the Buffalo Bills. I don't know why they're doing this. Maybe they're trying to go young, but here's the thing. Going young could also backfire because some of these young rookies, they're not built right now to go toe to toe with some of those best receivers in the NFL. So they could get torched easily. So I don't know what's Buffalo doing. It really befuddles me. I don't know what the plan is for Sean McDermott, Brandon Beane in that front office. It makes no damn sense in the world. And I mean, if you're a Bills fan, you should be scratching your head because you're just like, what is going on with my team? And as you know, James is wearing his black sweater, signaling the Bills' funeral right now. But go ahead.
It's just cold in here. That's all it is.
Yeah, I mean, but in terms of Taylor Rapp, you know what, James? First of all, the Buffalo Bills, this is the smartest thing the Buffalo Bills have done since extending Josh Allen. Because this guy, I'm telling you, James, he's a guy that has a lot of talent. Not a lot of people see it, but he's a guy that's a worthwhile investment. He's a guy that's just going to continue to grow and blossom and just be turned into one of the best ball-hawking safeties in the NFL. He got a 3-year, $14.5 million deal, so he's going to get paid like $5 million this season and more. So, James, he went from getting a $3 million deal, Taylor Rapp, $2 million deal, to getting a pay cut or to getting a double his pay. So I think the Bills were definitely impressed. He's going to be their starting safety now, and I think it's a great move for the Buffalo Bills because he's a young safety. He's a guy that, showed that he has, an eye for the ball, and he definitely, played well last year for the Buffalo Bills. So I do like the extension for Rapp. I think it's very well deserved. And your Raiders, my Niners, the Broncos, the Patriots, everybody should be crying that they didn't get this guy, because the fact is we just missed out on potentially getting one of the best safeties, or one of the guys that's going to be one of the best safeties in the NFL next season. I mean, I'm not that confident in that kid. It just sucks. And that's why I made that post the other day. The Niners are not going to win a Super Bowl the Niners are not winning a Super Bowl because we didn't sign Taylor Rapp. I mean, imagine if we had Rapp instead of G.I. Brown after Talanoa Hufanga went down. The Niners would be holding a Lombardi trophy right now, James. We didn't win a Super Bowl, not because Mahomes, not because our defense faltered. It's because we didn't sign Rapp. We didn't have a guy that was suitable enough to be back there at the safety position. And that's what cost us our Super Bowl this past season. I think that, I'm happy for Rapp, but every team in the NFL that didn't pick him up or didn't even have interest, I feel sorry for everybody, because this is a guy that is going to be one of the better safeties in the NFL next season, and the Bills got a gem, man. They got a gem.
Whew. Where to start? Yeah, that's reaching for Taylor Rapp. Sorry, Taylor.
What's your thoughts on Taylor Rapp? I know you had some stuff to say.
There's at least 15 safeties better than him. That's all I'll say. I just don't see what you see. He used to get beat all the time, and Jalen Ramsey used to get on him all the time with the LA Rams. So unless the Bills just see something in him where it's like, hey, you know what? We can get younger at the safety position, and he might be a little better than everyone else. But I don't see it. I just don't see it. He is more available. You can say that health-wise. So maybe that's why the Bills are going for that, knowing that they had to cut ties with injured players they've had. And then the reason your 49ers lost because they didn't know the overtime rules. Let's just say that. All right, Isaiah, I believe that's all the topics. We'll get into some final thoughts, but do you have any announcements for the channel?
Yeah, so a couple announcements for the channel is that number one, most likely, because a lot of us aren't available, I don't know if we'll be doing this. Make sure you guys just stay tuned to our page. We'll make some announcements, but we may or may not be doing an NFL free agency watch party on Monday morning. We'll see. I know free agency opens down here for me and James at like 9 a.m. Pacific time. We're not going to do a show that early, maybe around 10 a.m. Who knows? We'll do it for like an hour and a half. Who knows? But we may or may not be doing it depending on how many people we get to join in. So that might happen on Monday. Also, we are going to be doing an MI6, IM6 baseball preview show coming up in a couple of weeks, couple of days before the season starts. So make sure you guys tune in for that. I know Ben is going to be doing his show. I don't know if it's going to be this week, upcoming week. We'll see. He'll let you guys know. And then also, the other things that we have is I think we're also going to be doing an NFL draft show as well, a live draft show. So make sure you guys tune in for that. It's going to be fun. Can't wait. On April the 25th is when the first round of the draft is. It's going to be so much fun. Can't wait for it. And yeah, man, NFL free agency. Stay tuned because I'm hoping we do a watch party on Monday. But if not, we might just do like daily recaps after every day. So we'll see.
All right, I'll let you end the show. Hey, thanks for having me here on the Extra Point. I just noticed now with Clovers or whatever those are. Get your Shamrock Shakes, right? Right. All right, Isaiah. See you later.
Shamrock season. All right, guys. It's been a great show. James, any final thoughts for you tonight?
No, none at all other from the ones I said.
All right, guys, it's been a great show. Thanks to everybody for tuning in to our free agency preview special as James has to head off for the night. But, guys, thank you so much for tuning in. Really appreciate it. It's going to be fun, man. All these guys we named tonight, all free agents, they're all going to be finding new homes on Monday, Tuesday, or Wednesday. So it's going to be fun. It's going to be Christmas, football Christmas, starting in about 72 or 70 hours from now. It should be so much fun. Cannot wait. But, guys, it's been a great show. Thank you to Ben for hopping on early on. Thank you to James for hosting the show. I know my Wi-Fi was having a lot of issues. But, guys, thanks to everybody for watching. Stay safe, stay healthy, and we'll see you guys possibly Monday morning for our IM6 NFL free agency watch party on the IM6 network. Have a great night, everybody.
Third and 29. Jones steps up, tries to avoid it, buys some time. Jones uncorks, deep ball, touchdown on the ricochet. Purdy back to throw, pressure coming, steps away, looking to run, and he walks it in for the touchdown. Throw on 4th and 18. He's given time. He wants Jefferson. Justin Jefferson. Jacobs with running room right up the middle. Jacobs is on his way. The Raiders are going to win this game. Lays it up. It is intercepted. Trayvon Diggs. Guess who? To McCaffrey right up the middle, and it's stiff arm McCaffrey for 6.